But moving on.
All right. Another thing that we noticed is when we tried to go back and decide, like, call these people by their characters' names, we realized we didn't really remember any of the characters' names.
And it wasn't important.
But that was all right, because it wasn't important, because you never felt like you needed to know what these characters' names were. You just knew. In fact, it almost seems deliberate, because you knew them by their occupations. You knew this guy was rich. You knew this guy was a spy.
And the acting showed that.
And the acting definitely reflected that. And I just... you're not going to remember these names, but it's still a very memorable film. You just, like, these names just completely escape me.
And the emotion is so high in this movie with the characters that are acting and with the people who are watching. We were watching this movie, and through a lot of it, we just kept turning over at each other and be like, yes! Or like, it was like that because it brings out such emotion. You see people getting what they deserve, and you see unspeakable acts taking place, and you're like, that person deserves a real punch in the face, and then they get it, and you're like, oh, it feels
it's so very satisfying.
Yes.
Especially if you're an action fan. It's just there's, like he said, there's those moments where you're just like, this is awesome. And
it was well scripted in a lot of parts. Even though at the beginning it was wooden, I mean, it totally changes, and it's Oscar worthy.
Yeah, it just totally flips. It's and another thing we noted is it is edited very well. It's common to see in all these action films, and the Transporter movies, 3 especially, but most of them are really terrible at this, and that's the fact that you get 10 different angles on one punch. He's throwing the punch, you get a different camera angle. He's still throwing the punch, get a different camera angle. And then finally the punch connects with the bad guy's face. And then you get another camera angle, and it's just confusing. It's this big mess of editing. But with this, it's almost documentary style, because the camera shakes with him, but not too much. It's not like Bourne Ultimatum, like Shaky Cam 2.0. But it adds leverage to the scene, and it's only one take.
Continuous hit.
A continuous hit, and then it'll switch on the hit. So I found that very amazing and very effective.
Good angles. I mean, you get to see what's going on. You're not confused and looking. And like, what just happened there? You're always seeing what's going on. Correct. And there are a few fights and a few action sequences. But even if you're not a big action fan, I recommend that you see this film when it comes out on opening night, because it's just that good. And it has such a developed plot and storyline that it's more than just action. It's emotion, and you need to see it.
And another thing that should be noted is that this movie, it's very gritty. There's actually something that happens to one character, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, that you wouldn't think would happen, especially since just that sort of thing doesn't happen in movies, and then you see it come on screen, and we both looked at each other and were like, is that... Yeah,
is it happening? Did it happen?
Is that what is happening?
And then it did.
And it was just surprising. So overall, my final thoughts on this is that it's a very satisfying movie. It's a must-see. I absolutely loved it. I've been wanting to see it for ages now, and like I said, I was very excited to get this advanced copy of it, and just fantastic movie. I'll see it opening night. I'm going to buy it on Blu-ray, DVD, whatever comes out on.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie.
And in fact, I think that it wouldn't be too far for me to almost promise that there will be an Around the Town video blog with Brent and I that evening, if schedules work out to where we go on that Friday or maybe even Thursday night if it's previewing early. I don't know if it'll be that big. It depends on a lot of the advertising. I'm really excited to see how they're going to advertise this movie, because I think we're the only people in this side of the state who's seen that movie right now.
So far I would agree with that. My big issue is the way that this movie is being billed is like all those second-rate horror movies that The Eye and crap like that Saw comes out, and Saw's the one that everybody wants to see, which I don't understand, but that's a different conversation altogether. But then once Saw comes out, then there's all these cut and just all these other terrible campy horror movies that come out, with all these A-list actors that just want to pay off their yachts. And I feel like it's going to get that treatment, and it doesn't deserve that treatment. I want to see it to be a heavily billed action title, but the problem with that is the director and the writer, they're both French. This movie came out in the UK before. which reminds me, the guy who told me about this movie, want to give a shout out. His name is Kyle Coey. He lives in the UK. I don't feel like it's going to get the credit it deserves in the States, and that's really unfortunate because they're both French writers, and you know, you talk to anybody and you're like, oh yeah, this French guy wrote it. He also did, before you even get to what else they did, it's just, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts?
It was a great movie. I would rate it 4.5 out of 5 stars, and that's really high for me because normally I'm more critical with movies. I think that any movie that can just be okay and that I enjoy sitting down and watching, it deserves half of a rating that I give, maybe 3 out of 5 stars. But I think that this has really gone above and beyond because it actually kept dragging it out, adding more. I don't mean dragging as in it's a drag. I mean dragging it as in stretching the storyline.
There's always something going on.
And it adds to the story. It's not like it all takes place in 20 minutes, and it's not some little TV special that the problem is solved really quick. There's more of the story, and it's just wonderful. And then when it's finally over, you're sitting there, oh, I wish there was more, and you're actually thinking that. So I would definitely recommend seeing this. I don't care what other movies are out on the weekend that this debuts. I think that this should be priority. This film should. So take it. My one plug is to Sean Phillips and MJ Kelly. A lot of my viewers know the two of them from the Don and Murph show. I am begging the two of you, please do a Don and Murph movie review special, full-blown on this movie. I think that it could be really good if you twisted something in with like Murph being taken and Don being on the phone with him or something, and then Don searching for him. I just think that would be beyond, and it would be funny. So you two go ahead and do that. And when you finally watch the movie, please review yourself and tell us what you think of our review. Tell us what you think about the movie itself, and then post it as a video response, or even post a few comments below. We would both appreciate that. And so that's about it for tonight. Do you have anything else?
To wrap it all up, I'm going to agree. I'm going to give it a solid 4.5 out of 5. It was a fantastic movie. I said it time and time again, you just simply must see.
Hope all is well in your neck of the woods.
Have a good one.